This is The Jason Jones Show, powered by Mudhouse Media. Now, here's Jason Jones.
Aloha, everybody, and welcome to The Jason Jones Show. I am your host, Jason Jones. Hey, guys, I want to ask you a favor. We were the number 16 ranked podcast in America last week in our category, which is like the biggest category. And that's because of you. You're sharing the show. Also, give us 5 stars. I never asked. You give us 5 stars, you write a review. That helps the show grow. All right? You give us a 1 star, it helps it grow too. You write something negative, it helps it grow too. But you hurt my feelings. If you want to help the show grow and not hurt my feelings, you give us 5 stars and you write a review. And my goal is to make this show grow, because the mission of the show is to advance the interests of the vulnerable and to amplify our influence. With the great shows like we had last week with the ambassador of East Turkestan, Salih Hudaya, when we were fighting for the Uyghur. And I'll be with him in D.C. this week. But help the show grow. We're going to be interviewing my dear friend. And I know I say a lot of these guests are my good friends. They are really my good friends. I've been friends with this amazing woman for a very long time. She called me the day after the election and said, they just tried to steal an election. We won't make it. We will not let it happen. I'm going to organize marches around the country. We're going to pray that God brings down these walls of corruption. And that's how the Jericho Marches were birthed just a month ago. She's the co-founder of Jericho March, and it's going to culminate on December 12th in Washington, D.C. I'll be there. We're going to talk to her about the Jericho March and the inspiration she has for this. And we'll get into detail with Arina, my hero. This episode is being brought to you by, as always, Movie to Movement, promoting a culture of life, love, and beauty through the power of film. Go to movieToMovement.com, click through to Salem now, where you can watch our film, Divided Hearts of America, starring Benjamin Watson, Super Bowl champ Benjamin Watson, exploring the great denials of human dignity, slavery, segregation, and abortion. And he reveals the secret that can unite us as a country in the midst of this time of division. Go to movieToMovement.com. Check it out. Also go to the Vulnerable People Project at thegreatcampaign.org and join the Great Campaign to stand with the vulnerable, from the child in the womb to the Uyghur and Chinese-occupied East Turkestan. Go to greatcampaign.org. Become a monthly donor. You get a free copy of my book with John Zmirak, The Race to Save Our Century. Now, here is the big news. We have held off having corporate sponsors on the show, but we have our first corporate sponsor, which I talk about in depth at the end of the show, that fits perfectly with who we are. Our sponsor is My Pillow. And let me tell you, when the My Pillow boxes came to my house, for the first time ever, I impressed my family. I never saw smiles so big. And I feel ashamed I never ordered pillows for my family before. So we got the pillows, and I have to confess, I talk about this at the end of the show, I don't use pillows to put my head on. I use pillows to put over my head, because pillows, they put my head up. And, I was an infantryman, and I like, Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu. I have neck and back problems. The first night I put it over my head, my wife said, no, honey, look, you like this. And I use the pillow, and you can make it fit your size. So I made this like little indentation, and I made it. And not only so I had a pillow under my head, and I have to do this since I was a child, and I put a pillow over my head. But the real surprise was the mattress topper. We have the best bed around. We spent a lot of money on this bed. Again, I have a bad back. And we had the mattress topper. My wife said, what should we do with this? And I said, well, let's try it for a night, and then we'll roll it upstairs, and we'll use it for guests. We rolled it on our bed, and it was amazing. You've got to get the mattress topper. It's staying on top of this very expensive bed, like it was more expensive than my first 3 cars, my bed. So if you go to mypillow.com, you can get the pillows, you can get the Giza sheets, you can get the towels, you can get the bathrobe. They make great Christmas gifts. And if you use the code Jones, you get your discount. Use your code Jones for the discount. And that also helps the show, by the way. And I say this at the end of the show, but I'm going to say it again at the beginning of the show. And I hope I get Mike on the show. He perfectly fits, MyPillow perfectly fits with the brand of this show, or the message of the show, why the show was founded, to stand with the vulnerable. And as I always say, the vulnerable are not weak people. They are strong people placed in impossible situations. The Mike Lindell story perfectly represents that. Mike Lindell was a strong guy in some tough places. And then he saw a need, and he met that need. And then he didn't ship his jobs over to China like these big brands do to make a little extra money. He created jobs for his community. See, a do-gooder is somebody who says he loves someone over there on the other side of the world, but he forgets the people closest to him. To me, MyPillow is about an ethical product that's the best in its, it is the best pillow. It is the best mattress topper. It's the best. But it's ethically produced, and he's also now the pillar of his community. Not only that, this guy boldly proclaims life, boldly proclaims the dignity of the human person. When Mike Lindell talks, what is the magic that Mike Lindell has? I think it's something that you have, something that we know together. We know that we live in a world where everywhere we go, we are surrounded by the most beautiful creatures in the cosmos, the most beautiful created beings in the world, the human person. And Mike Lindell is a guy that understands the preciousness of the human person. So when he talks about, this pillow you're going to get a better night's sleep, it's going to get rid of your neck pain, I don't even know if he says that. But I know for me, when I sleep on it, I can actually use a pillow now. I could never use a pillow before. It hurt my neck. So for me, I love it. So Mike Lindell is a guy who understands the precious dignity of the human person. All right, guys, this is all you have to do. Go to mypillow.com and click on the radio listener square. That's where you're going to find amazing offers and deep discounts on all MyPillow products. You want the Giza sheets. This includes the Giza sheets. That mattress topper that is sitting on top of my bed that costs the price of a car, discount on that too. The towels, the bathrobes, towel sets, okay? Go there, use the promo code Jones. You support this show, you get a discount, and your family's going to smile. Boom. We're not going to aggressively go after sponsors. But if we see an opportunity, like Movie to Movement in the Vulnerable People Project, to partner with, brands, organizations that we think fit the mission of this show, we're proud to partner with them. And I think we'll never be able to top MyPillow because everything about MyPillow fits with this show. So let's get on with the interview with the one, the only, the great Arina Grossu, The Jason Jones Show. Aloha, Arina Grossu. Welcome to The Jason Jones Show.
Hi, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So when we were doing the sound check, you counted to 5 for me in Romanian. Can you count to 5 in Romanian for the audience?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That just sounds like really bad Spanish. I don't even know if that's Romanian. It just sounds like you got an F in Spanish. Though. It's bad Spanish? Is that what Romanian is?
No, Romanian is the closest to Latin. Everyone else is just a poser.
So Spanish is just bad Romanian.
Exactly, actually.
Okay, so you are the co-founder of the Jericho March happening December 12th in Washington, D.C. and around the country. But you are my old friend. How long have we known each other?
Well, let's see. We've known each other for at least 12 years.
When did we meet? Did we do a play together? Were you in Voices? I think we met in the play, but then I was like, I don't know. You seem too young.
No,
to
I
have
was
been
helping. I was helping you with some of your movie promotions.
Which movie was it?
Well, let's see. Stoning of Soraya M. I remember that one.
Okay.
Was that 2008?
Yeah, around then. Yeah, 2008 and
See,
2009.
there you go. I was helping with promoting that in DC back then.
And what were you doing then? You just got out. You just graduated from Notre Dame.
I graduated from grad school.
From grad school.
The Dominican House of Studies in DC.
Oh, that's right. But you went to Notre Dame. Your undergrad was at Notre Dame.
That's right.
I don't. For some reason, I thought I was thinking today. I've known. You know how all of our friends, we were just like a crew, and then I'm like, did we meet in that play Voices? So many of my friends I met in this play we did around that time we met. But it was the Stoning of Soraya M. Are we allowed to talk about what you do for a living, or is that off limits?
No.
All right, we won't talk about
what we're doing here.
All right. So tell us about. So first of all, you are one of the most energetic, happy activists I know. You're always up to something big, but this might be the biggest thing ever. So tell us what is happening on the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe for those Catholics and those Latinos, those Guadalupans. What is it Guadalupans or Guadalupina? I hang out with Eduardo. You think I would know. So what's going on December 12th?
Well, it is the biggest thing ever. So we are organizing Jericho marches all around all states, all U.S. capitals, but especially focusing on the swing states. And we're going to have a massive event in D.C., and we are simultaneously doing Jericho marches around the U.S. Capitol, the Supreme Court, and the Department of Justice. And after everyone walks around, they pick a building, they walk around 7 times praying with their group, kind of like the March for Life. They just pick up one of the buildings they want to go pray around. Once they finish doing that, they'll go over to the National Mall, where we're going to have a big prayer rally. And we are calling it the Let the Church Roar prayer rally with amazing speakers. We just announced them today. Some of them. We are going to make a big announcement tomorrow, so I can't share a big announcement today. But
do I know it? Do I know the big announcement or no?
You don't actually, Jason. You don't.
Was it
Not
the
yet.
guy that I tried to help get, or no? We don't know yet.
No.
Okay. It's not him. All right. So what are the buildings again?
So Jericho marchers will be walking around the U.S. Capitol, the Supreme Court, and the Department of Justice.
Okay. Can I ask what happened in the Battle of Jericho when they marched around the walls? What happened?
So Joshua and the Israelites were instructed to march for 6 days, and on the 7th day to march 7 times around the walls of corrupt Jericho. And on the very last day, they marched 7 times around, and then blew shofars, the big horns, and gave a great loud shout. And then the walls of Jericho came down.
So are you trying to bring down these government buildings? What are you going to do if these walls come down?
We are trying to bring down the corruption and the election fraud and all that funny business.
And God knows that. He knows we don't want to bring down any physical walls. We want to bring down spiritual walls of corruption, fraud, dishonesty.
And that's why we're doing peaceful, prayerful rallies, because we know that we're not just battling with flesh and blood. We're battling with evil spirits that are causing a lot of problems everywhere. So we are taking on a lot in this. And the fact that people have been doing Jericho marches since November 5th. And I'd like to share a little bit about how this came about. So, we're all watching the election. I don't know about you, but I was pretty enraged by what I saw. And I felt very helpless. And I thought, we need to do something. And I had a vision of prayer rallies all around the state capitals. And I think I called you, Jason, and I said, we need to be out on the streets. And you said, oh, yeah, well, there's Stop the Steal. And I was like, no, prayer rallies. So I called around a few people, tried to see if anyone was planning any prayer events surrounding the election funny business. No one was. So I just was hitting a wall, and as God would have it, as Providence would have it, there's an evangelical guy by the name of Rob Weaver who had the same vision, I think 24 hours apart, or maybe even the same day. But through one of our contacts, they put us in touch, and he called. And when I saw that number, I didn't know who it was. I never met the guy in my life, but I knew it was about the Jericho marches. And I picked up the phone, and he said, and he told me his vision, and it was my vision. And we realized that God was calling us to plan these marches and to mobilize people to get out there and pray. So since November 5th, there have been people praying every single day at all the state capitals. And it's just the massive amount of spiritual graces coming out of this is beyond anything we can imagine.
I had the privilege of being at the one in Austin on November 5th.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
And
what was your experience like?
It was beautiful. I'll tell you, it was funny. So we're walking around, and I see this car that has a big Mexican flag coming out of it, and I smiled brightly and waved at them, and I thought they were waving at me, and then my wife said, "I'm so proud of you." And I said, "For what? You didn't chase that guy down in that car like you normally would and try to pull him out of the car for." I'm like, "For waving at me?" It's like, "Oh, he wasn't waving at you." I just assumed he was we had Our Lady of Guadalupe, and I saw the Mexican flag, and
that's funny.
he wasn't actually, he was waving with one finger. But other than that, it was really the most beautiful experience. And a lot of people knew me, and they're like, "Oh, we see you on Taylor Marshall or other programs." And what I liked about it was there was the Stop the Steal event. There were just Trump supporters descending. There were counter protesters, kind of Antifa aligned groups, and it was pretty tense. But then the Jericho March, they stayed prayerful, and they were a sign of contradiction in the midst of all the chaos.
I love
in the
that.
midst of all of the hostility, they were just there. And what's interesting is there was no diversity in the groups, like the Trump side. Actually, the Trump side had a bit more diversity. The counter protesters looked just like somebody opened the doors from Trader Joe's and they poured out. Is that crowd? But then the Jericho March, it was every flavor of human being, every kind. But what they shared in common was their Christian faith, and their longing for a peaceful, they want to live in a community that's peaceful and humane and honest. They want a culture of life and a civilization of love, and they projected that. That is so awesome. They were like a little troop, emanating, showing what a civilization of love looks like. So for me, because I am easily inflamed, they were there. I'm glad they were there for me, because then I marched with them instead of going over to sort of where all the ruckus was, and my wife and 5 of my children. I said, let's stay with these guys. And
yeah, I mean, they're family friendly. People come and bring their kids on the marches.
Lots of kids.
They remind me of the March for Life, where you have people and joyful, prayerful. And I have to give a big shout out to Dr. Taylor Marshall, because he got the Catholics out there way before anyone else was out there. And they came out with their rosaries, and it was awesome. We have so many photos and videos of people all around the country saying, here you go, Dr. Taylor Marshall, here we are, we're marching like you mentioned. And so that was really awesome, because it's kind of a funny joke, but usually the evangelicals have us beat in most things. But with the Jericho marches, we were the leaders in it. But there's so many people who have come out in droves since. And one of the things that stuck out to me about the vision and Rob, the way that we've literally known each other for a month now, and is how closely aligned our vision of it continues to be as we continue planning things. And one of the things, again, it was another God incident, I would say, is that we were trying to think, what time should we make them? And in my mind, I thought noon. I don't know why. And he just said noon. And I said, why? Why did you just say noon? Because I was thinking noon. And I can't describe what it might be. It might be because a lot of the things that happen in the darkness of the early hours of the morning, the 3, 4 a.m. And that's when they say the devil roams. And maybe, with noon, it's like the highest part of the day, right? The brightest part of the day. And I think that the Jericho Marchers represent that. And another thing that both of us shared very early
and you know what
on,
I like about the noon as well is when we saw from some of these other marches, the thugs, the violent criminals, the Bolsheviks, the brown shirts, they prowl around, and if they wait till dark and they ambush the elderly that would be there when they're alone. So they ambush the weak and the old when they're alone. And so to have this march at noon, everyone's going to be home. They won't be prowled upon when they're alone in the dark. So I think that's just if people, and the reason I wanted you on, Arina, is I want our audience to come if they can. I'm going to get in town on the 9th. I'll be there for an event with the Uyghur on International Human Rights Day. We'll be there with the Uyghur, with Hong Kong freedom activists and others. And so I'll be there on the 10th. The Prime Minister in exile from East Turkestan is going to join me at the Jericho March and march with us.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so
Love it.
He'll be there with us and praying, and he'll be coming. But I hope that people who are listening really come and if you can't come to the event in Washington, D.C., at least go to your state capital if you can. And this is something that's very important. We believe in the power of prayer. Now, can I ask you about December 12th? You picked noon.
Yeah, of
now,
course.
So I have to even tell you the reason why I decided to come. The 10th is the Uyghur event. I knew I'd be there for that. The 11th is my daughter's play, and I pride myself for not missing anything of my children's. Even if I have to fly around the world, I don't miss gymnastics. I don't miss karate tournaments. I don't miss swim meets. I don't miss plays. But this is my daughter's play, and it was really sorrowful for her that I'm going to miss this. But I had to explain to her how important it is that I go there. And I think if you held it any other day than December 12th, the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe, I would have probably just said, I have to go to the play. Why did you pick December 12th? And why did the evangelicals, was that something you guys decided together, or were you like, we need to do this on the 12th?
Well, for a number of reasons. First and foremost, we know that the Electoral College will vote on December 14th, which is Monday. And we have been asking our Jericho Marchers since November 5th to march daily and pray every single day until December 14th. And we knew that this would be the big week where kind of everything comes to a head. But for us Catholics, of course, we have two big Marian feasts during this week. One tomorrow, the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, and Our Lady of Guadalupe on Saturday. And it just clicked. First of all, it was the Saturday right before the Electoral College vote, and it just so happened that it was the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And we know what we celebrate. We celebrate she's a patroness of the Americas. She is also the patroness of the unborn. And it just fits so perfectly because so much is at stake with what happens with this election. And it's not over. And we know that we want all the darkness, all the corruption, all the fraud exposed. And we know that our God is bigger than anything else out there, all of that corruption, and he can expose all of this. And the only thing that can defeat this is our prayers. And of course, you have the Supreme Court, and they will be taking up cases. But I say that we are petitioning three courts. We are petitioning the heavenly courts, and that is our main role as the Jericho Marchers. But we are also petitioning the temporal courts, the Supreme Court and others, as we are marching, because obviously this is also a political battle. And we are also petitioning the courts of public opinion, because we know that our public officials can be weak and can be swayed by public opinion. And so much has been stolen from us with the big tech and media lying and covering up and censoring our voice, that the courts of public opinion haven't actually been heard, truly heard. They've been silenced. So we want to show what the public actually thinks, and the way to do it is to demonstrate peacefully and to pray. So that's what we're doing. And the December 12th was just the right. It clicked. It was the right date. And actually, it's the 12, 12, 12. But actually, and that's for the swing states, 12 p.m. But we're going to be starting. Oh, that's
right. Now, so by the way, I just want to commend you. I want to thank you. You know, you called me the day of the election or the evening of the election or the day after, I think. And, you know, you said you were going to do this, and you did it. And you had people in front of the state capitals in 12 states, the battleground states. You have this huge event where hundreds of thousands of people are expected. You did what you said you were going to do. And then the names of the folks, I just saw the list. Share with who's going to be in Washington, D.C. It's really an unbelievable list.
And it's growing. So far, we have faith leaders. We have Bishop Garlington, who's really big in the evangelical community, and Bishop Strickland will be sending us a video. And he's
my
from
first
Texas.
tweet every morning. I look to see what Bishop Strickland tweeted. It's my favorite tweet of the day. And he's awesome. Relentless on Twitter. Okay, so Bishop Strickland, who else?
We have prophetic voices from the evangelical community, like Cindy Jacobs. We have Dr. Taylor Marshall will be sending us a video. He was going to join us in person, but he had a personal commitment, so he is still going to send us a video. Father Greg Bremledge is awesome. He's actually going to deliver. He's going to say a deliverance prayer from the stage over the entire crowd.
Now, didn't you go to college with him? Is that how you went to college together, right?
No, Father Greg. No, I don't.
You didn't go to grad school? Oh, okay. Anyway.
No. But I did go to grad school with a lot of priests, because the Dominicans are, I went with the brothers, so a lot of them are now all over the country. But we also wanted to incorporate all the various flavors of the Judeo-Christian faith. So we have Father Hans Jacobs, who's with the American Orthodox Institute, and various other leaders in the evangelical church. But then we also have Abby Johnson. We all know how awesome she is, her pro-life movement. And we're going to have Stop the Steal. Obviously, we're partnering with Stop the Steal to put on the December 12th event. We're going to have Bikers for Trump. We're going to have Moms for America, Women for Trump. So we're going to have political activists.
Yvonne Florzak-Seaman, who's my favorite speaker, is going to be there.
Who is?
Yvonne Florzak-Seaman from Love from Above.
Yes. She is awesome. I cannot wait to meet her.
Jason Jones is going to be there. Like, guys.
This Hollywood producer.
I never miss him. I never miss one of his events. If he's there, I'm there.
But it's going to be an awesome event. We're going to have some praise and worship.
Can we say who the MC is yet or no?
Yes, we can. The MC is Eric Metaxas.
Boom.
He is awesome.
He's the best. He's like a treasure. I was on an email thread this week with Eric Metaxas and John Zmirak talking about they're recording a song of Mary, Did You Know? But it's Biden, Did You Know? And it's about all the different fraud in the election, but it's Biden, Did You Know? And watching John Zmirak and Eric Metaxas in an email thread going back and forth about 100 times was like going to Cirque du Soleil. Like it was just watching like amazing acrobats, because they're so clever, they're so funny, and they were unguarded because it was in a private email thread. And I didn't respond once. I'm like, I just get to like watch these guys banter back and forth, and they've been friends since college. But I think Eric Metaxas, talk about prophetic voices.
Yeah,
this is a guy that dressed down the president of the United States, Barack Obama, at the National Prayer Breakfast when he was the keynote speaker, and challenged him on abortion, which was one of the most powerful things. The only other person I saw that had the courage to do something like that was when Mother Teresa did the same thing to President Clinton.
She was awesome. But I think this movement, the Jericho Marchers, is basically the church rising up, because we have bishops who are too afraid to speak. Thankfully, we have really good bishops, some really good bishops, but we have, even in our church, priests who are afraid. And you know what? We have the people who are not afraid to stand for what is right and true are rising up despite all of these different limitations in all of the churches, whether they're evangelical churches or Catholic churches or whatever. And it's just beautiful to see that the church is coming alive. And I think the Lord is using the Jericho Marches. I see the Jericho Marches continuing. So the first one here is election Jericho March, but we're going to continue. We're going to Jericho March, and if they try to close down our churches and we can't go to mass and we can't go to our local church, we're going to Jericho March until they open those doors, and we're going to Jericho March until abortion is outlawed, and so we're just going to do Jericho marches to protect human dignity, to protect life, liberty, justice, and I believe this is the beginning of a ministry that is going to take the world by storm, spiritually speaking. And we've already heard from people from other countries. I received a message from Brazil saying that they want to do one there, and people praying for us from New Zealand and Ireland and Canada. So, I mean, it's already starting, the fact that people are catching on to what we're doing. And it's empowering because you don't need very much. You just need to stand up, go to a physical place that really needs to be prayed on, and you pray. And the Jericho marches are self-led, so it doesn't require a lot of organization. You could go individually, although I'd recommend go in a group because of the terrible people that are there to, that can cause violence. But it's just beautiful that people can just go and pray. And we've already done this. We've done this with 40 Days for Life, where for 40 days people show up and pray in front of abortion facilities. There's no reason why we can't continue with Jericho marches to join those efforts later on. But obviously right now we're focused on this injustice, the fact that we deserve to know, we deserve to have transparency in the election process. If no funny business was going on, why were observers pushed out? Why are envelopes destroyed? Why were there tallies in the middle of the night that were all for Biden or mostly for Biden in the hundreds of thousands? And so all of these things need to be investigated. If we want a free republic and we want free and fair elections, this isn't about just this election. If Biden won fair and square, that would be one thing. People aren't mad because he won, if he had won fair and square. They're mad because he didn't win, and yet he's trying to steal this election. And people know this. They're not stupid. And in fact, I do believe that President Trump won with 80 million votes. And anyone who thinks that Biden is the most popular candidate in history to get the most votes, more than Obama,
I know 3 people that voted for Biden. No, I don't. I know 2 people that did. One that wishes he could, but he can't vote. I'll leave it at that. He served with me in the Army. Love the guy. But no one buys this. And I got to tell you, I'm going to go a step further, Arina. I'm going to go a step further. It's not just that we don't think he really won. If he stole the election and the stakes weren't as high as they are, I would be in my daughter's play. But when I'm looking at who he's appointing, who he wants to appoint to his cabinet, people like the attorney, what is this, Becerra, it's Xavier Becerra, the guy that prosecuted David Daleiden and Vicious. Everyone he's looking to put in key positions of foreign policy are war hawks. We're looking at war in Syria. We're looking at the prosecution of pro-lifers. We're looking at food insecurity. Biden is talking about these draconian lockdowns. Talk about science. And
abortion worldwide.
Abortion worldwide. Ignoring, look.
The millions of lives.
I would like to me, abortion is the biggest issue, and year in and year out, it usually is. This year, next year, I think more people are going to starve to death than are aborted, which when you think about it is, if Biden's president, it will be horrific. The hunger with his lockdown. So what is at stake? Why are we fighting? We're fighting for life. We're fighting for against hunger. We're fighting for peace or against war. We're fighting for a sane border policy that doesn't go back to the neoliberal idea of porous borders so that we can lure vulnerable migrants into an underground economy to exploit so the rest of us can rest on an economy of exploitation of vulnerable migrant workers. We want an economy where everyone has the same legal protections, where we don't exploit, we don't lure migrants into an underground economy. We don't allow human sex trafficking back and forth and guns and drugs back and forth. This is about a culture of life. And that's why, to me, December 12th means so much. Yeah. And half our audience isn't Catholic, probably more isn't Catholic. And when we talk about Our Lady of Guadalupe, do you want to tell people what she means to us? Why December 12th is so important to us?
It is so important. So Our Lady of Guadalupe appeared to San Juan Diego, and as a result of this apparition, which was a miraculous apparition in his tilma, the cloak that he was wearing.
So we as Catholics, let me preface this real quick. We as Catholics understand that Mary was created. She's a creature. She was in the mind of God.
Mary.
We don't worship her. She was in the mind of God for all eternity, as you were and as I were. But she was in God's mind for all of eternity, not as a podcaster or an activist, but as the mother of the second person of the Trinity, right? So,
and the singular mother of God. Who else can claim that except Mary?
That's right.
No one else was God's mother.
So if you're a Christian, you accept that. If you're a Christian, you accept that all of us were in God's mind for all of eternity, who we are. And then if you accept that, then Mary's no different. God didn't choose Mary. God created her out of all eternity to be his mother. How beautiful. We believe she was assumed into heaven. So because she was assumed bodily into heaven, she can appear to us. This is what we believe. And we believe in an apparition, that this is what you're about to talk about.
Yeah,
So, okay, this is where the creature Mary, created by God, appears. So tell the rest of the story. Yeah, by the way, you need to know this culturally if you're not Catholic, because you don't want to be embarrassed. Like Hillary Clinton, when she was in Mexico and she was at the tilma, the original image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and she asked the Mexican bishop who painted this, like the tilma site in Mexico City is the #1 visited tourist destination in the world. A lot of people don't know that. And so this is a big deal for a lot of people. This is cultural literacy here. So I know a lot of my Protestant friends, this is going to be like fingernails across a chalkboard because you've been, but this is, you need to listen to this because you need to know this. And for people like me and you, Arina, I know, I'm looking at her right now. She's above she's the centerpiece above my office because it's not just her, it's Jesus Christ is also in the image. But okay, go.
So I'll just make it really clear. She appeared to San Juan Diego, and as a result of this miraculous apparition where the bishop did not believe that he had an apparition of Mary. And the bishop tested him, and Juan Diego came back. It was the middle of winter, right? And he found roses in the middle of winter, and he came with a cloak full of roses to show the bishop. And he thought he was showing the bishop the roses. But when he opened the cloak, the inside of the cloak was Our Lady's image, which was literally floating off of the cloak. It wasn't, and that's why we say it was
an image from the book of Revelations, by the way.
That's right.
Of Mary.
So,
okay.
So this image of Mary actually was very, very specific to the Aztec people. She had their symbols, and I'm sure, Jason, you could put links for people, but there were symbols on it that spoke to the Aztecs. And as a result, the Aztecs, there were 9 million conversions. 9 million became Catholic from paganism. And they were
stopping ritual human sacrifice, like 30,000 a month at one point.
And what's crazy is that this is part of the reason that she's the patroness of the unborn, is because as a result, those 9 million Aztecs no longer sacrifice their children. And we know she's the protectress of the unborn. The other reason why she is the patroness of the unborn in that image is because that is the only image we have of Our Lady pregnant. And the reason we know that she's pregnant is that there's a black sash around her stomach, and in Aztec culture that represented that she was pregnant. There are really a lot of cool things about the Our Lady of Guadalupe. The fact that when you look at her pupils in the image, you actually see a reflection of the bishop and the people in the room that day that saw her.
Yeah,
image.
It's amazing. It's like there's no way. How would they have painted that back then? And
it's not painted,
and it's mirror image. So in her eyes, mirror imaged, you'll see the bishop
and the constellation. So in the dress that she's wearing,
she's clothed with the stars, like it says in Revelation, standing on the moon, clothed
with the actual constellations that were that very night, the day that she appeared. The constellations, as the sky looks that night, is engraved in that image of hers. And I will tell you, there were scientists who have tried to look at that image and test it, and they have said that it actually floats off the fabric, so that it's not even.
And there's no dye. They don't understand it because there's no dye. And
it floats off the fabric.
An atheist skeptic said he could paint a perfect duplicate. And he did. He painted, I don't know if you know the story. He painted a perfect duplicate of the image on a tilma, on a grass skirt. It's on this kind of grass, this very kind of, it didn't last long. It usually lasts about 12 years. He painted it and people couldn't tell the difference. It was perfect. Within 6 years, that tilma completely disintegrated. This is from the 15th century.
1531 is when she appeared. So hundreds and hundreds of years that this has been perfectly preserved by the grace of God.
Do you know about the bomb? Do you know about the bomb?
No, I don't.
Okay, so in the early 20th century, Marxists in a bouquet of flowers put a bomb at the base of the tilma, and it exploded, the tilma of Our Lady of Guadalupe. The church was destroyed. There's this huge cross that was behind the tilma. The explosion was in front of the tilma, but the cross bent. You can go to Mexico City. I've been there many times. You can see the cross. It bent over the tilma, not backwards, not blown apart. There was no damage on the tilma. Now I'm about to make you jealous and show off. Because I'm friends with Eduardo Verástegui, and Eduardo is friends with big shots, we went to Mexico City, and they have it in a now it's in a bomb-proof, fire-proof, bulletproof case in like a vault so people can see it through this glass. But then you got to go around from this vault and open it up. And they opened it up for us. And I touched my scapular to it. The same scapular that I touched to the trophy of Gaius in the Scavi of St. Peter.
Wow.
So my scapular
awesome.
has touched the tilma, and it has touched this trophy of Gaius, that red pillar that is in the Scavi. So I was able to get, have you had the Scavi tour yet?
No.
You've got to get the Scavi tour in Rome. You go under the Vatican. Next time you go to Rome, I'm going to hook this up. And you go under the Vatican.
Okay.
It's kind of special. You got to be, you're special. And you go under the Vatican and you walk this first century street, which is a graveyard, because remember, he was crucified in a graveyard, upside down, looking at an obelisk, Peter was. And, well, they excavated it, and you can walk. And what's amazing is you'll see tombs to Greek gods, tombs to Egyptian gods, Roman gods, and to Adonai, Jehovah. But then you'll see the tomb of the grave of Peter. It's unbelievable. Anyways, I've digressed, which I do a lot.
No, so I actually wanted to mention to your listeners one more thing. So this whole time, the Jericho March has only been around for 4 weeks that we've been doing this. And I've been reflecting a lot on the Battle of Lepanto. Do you know a lot about that?
Yes,
Jason?
Of course I do. I'm a boy.
So,
Catholic guys, do I know about Lepanto? Come on. I have an idea to do a 3-part movie series. First on Malta, then on Lepanto. Then when we have everyone hooked, we're going to go back to Rhodes. But
that's so cool.
It would be like $150 million. So unless there's anyone listening who's like, hey, I can do that. It's probably like when I'm 80, I'll be able to make this trilogy. Okay, tell us about Lepanto and how important this is.
Well, basically, the Turks were trying to invade Europe, and you had this group of what they called the Holy League, which were just a band of Catholic soldiers trying to fight back, and we didn't have that many troops. And the Pope asked everyone to pray the Rosary. There were masses going on. They were trying to battle and do the prayer battle. And I will tell you, Our Lady of Victory, that's Our Lady for the Battle of Lepanto. She won that battle for the Catholics, and saved Christendom from the attacks of just the attacks on the Christian faith that were going to be overtaken. So it's just really cool because I think about us a lot, the Jericho Marchers, that we're kind of a modern day version of the Holy League, where we're armed with prayer. I mean, they were armed with arms, and here we're not taking up physical arms. We're taking up our rosaries. We're taking up our prayers to God, and those are powerful. Those, as we say, the rosary is the most powerful weapon. And so it just makes me think of the power of prayer. And the fact that we're all coming together doing this I think is really moving God's heart. And I will mark my words, December 12th is going to be very, very special. Not just because of the events going on, not just because of the massive amounts of people who are going to be in DC praying, but I think the Lord is going to bless what we're doing, and I think we're going to see some miraculous things, not only in our churches, but in government as a result.
You know, I'm thinking, so those of you who are like, I don't want to go, most of you aren't going to go, right? Most of you aren't going to pray, or that's just how we are as people. But then I'm thinking of the Chesterton poem on Lepanto, and it's very beautiful. And it's really about how most people in Europe were not engaged in the battle, but it was a small few who did. King Philip in his closet with the fleece upon his neck, Don John of Austria is armed upon the deck. The Pope was in his chapel before day or battle broke. Don John of Austria is hidden in the smoke. How beautiful is that, right? Where is it about? I'm looking for the line in Queen Elizabeth staring in the mirror. I love Chesterton. But it's a powerful poem.
It too.
And you know, it's what I love about the poem on Lepanto is, listen, it just takes a dedicated minority to save this republic. Mm-hmm. And like Archbishop Vigano said, the future of the world is in the balance today in the United States of America. Right? It's up to us. Here it is. Dim drums. Where is it? Talk amongst yourselves. The cold Queen of England is looking in the glass. The shadow of Valios is yawning at the mass. From evening isles fantastical rings faint the Spanish gun, and the Lord upon the golden horn is laughing in the sun. Dim drums throbbing in the hills half heard, where only a nameless throne a crownless prince has stirred. And by the way, Cervantes fought in the Battle of Lepanto. Just a beautiful poem. Go read it. I don't have my reading glasses, and I'm hurting my eyes trying to read this on the computer. But yeah, I think Lepanto is a great analogy. And I want to bring it back real quick to Our Lady of Guadalupe. I'm going to put the image in the show notes. But I call this image of Mary, really it's an image of you. It's a catechism of human dignity, because you have Mary, a creature, a woman, standing upon the moon, clothed with the stars, backlit by the sun. But you know she's not a goddess because her head is bowed. She's praying to her creator. She's a creature. But she's worth more than everything in the material world. The stars are there just to clothe her. The sun is just there to light her. And the moon is just there for her to stand upon. Even the angels are just holding her up. The angels are there for her. And that's what the human person is.
Stepping on the snake.
And she's crushing the head of the serpent. And that's, in a way, it's the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. It's about Mary, but it's also about all of us. You know, it's a catechism of human dignity, that the human person is the most beautiful thing in the created order. And, of course, Mary is our sister. She's our creator. She's our sister and our mother. She's a creature like us. But when we look at that image of Mary, that tells you about us. The stars were created for Arina, to clothe Arina. And the moon was created for Arina to stand on. And the sun was created to light Arina, just like our Lord was crucified for her, for you, for me. And that's why I love that you are doing it on December 12th. I love it. I love it. I love it. So do you have let's have some logistics. What do you want people to know? We're like, you know what? I'm going to go on Priceline. By the way, I'm not going to say what hotel I'm staying at, but I just, it's one of those weeks. You can stay at a 5-star Priceline hotel for $62 right now on Priceline. You can get a ticket for $180 from most places in the continental United States. So there's really, for most of us, I think it's a sacrifice we can afford. I, for one, for less than $100, did I tell you where I'm not going to say where I'm staying. Did I tell you where I'm staying?
No.
I got an amazing hotel that I've always wanted to stay at, but I could never afford, for like $100. So if you want to go, now it's for most of us, I think it's affordable. Many people, I have a friend driving from Florida, a fan of the shows. Good friend is driving from Florida up. I have friends flying from all over the country. So give us some logistics, some things you want people to know who want to come.
Well, first and foremost, if you're not the type to go, I would say you will not regret this one. Okay, there is something beyond the temporal that's going to happen. It's there's going to be. I feel the spirit moving in such a powerful way. I think it's going to be biblical. I don't know exactly how that's all going to be, but I'm just telling you, don't miss out. Be there in person because it really is going to be amazing. But I'll tell you the logistics. So on Saturday morning, we're not announcing the times yet because we're still working out the schedule. And the reason we're not announcing the times is because so many people want to be speakers and join that we might just have to push it earlier than we thought so that we can make room for everyone to be in the program. But even so, the basic outline of the day is in the morning, probably around 9 or 10, probably 9 or 10. You pick the location, whether it's the U.S. Capitol, the Supreme Court, or Department of Justice, and you do your 7 marches with your group. Pray the rosary, do your singing, evangelical prayers, whatever it is that you do, 7 times around one of those buildings. Then just come on to the National Mall. There's going to be praise and worship music on. We're going to have patriotic music. We're going to have the speakers start. And essentially, we're going to go from right after the Jericho marches are done in those 3 locations. We're going to be on the National Mall the entire time and listening to amazing talks, listening to some really powerful people that you all will know that are not listed yet. And we are going to do praise and worship, and it's just going to be a really amazing time. I think that God is doing something beautiful in it, and we're probably going to end by 4. We want to get people safely back to their hotels before dark, as you can imagine. But you can. I would recommend that you get in on Friday evening because Saturday, DC is going to be completely shut down with all the events going on in town that day. There's another march also happening in other parts. So I would say try to be near a metro. Take a metro with a group of people. So because driving in and parking is going to be terrible. Don't do that. So stay in the city, take the metro, go out to one of those buildings, pray with your group, then come to the National Mall, and we're going to take care of you. You're going to have an awesome time. We're actually even hoping to simulcast with some of our other marchers in the swing states. We'll see if we can pull that off. And it's just going to be an incredible time. So it'll be a mix of one big praise and worship rally with some of your favorite people and patriots. It'll be like a mix between March for Life and 4th of July and a praise and worship concert.
In church.
There you have it.
Yes, in church. And I'm looking forward to going to the Basilica. I'm going to go to St. Matthew's. I'm going to stop by the Catholic Information Center on K Street. So for me, it's a pilgrimage as well. And I hope to see a lot of folks there. Eric Metaxas is someone who I greatly admire. And it's great to be a participant with people like Bishop Strickland, Taylor Marshall, marching shoulder to shoulder. We look at the great moments in the history of our country, like the Reverend Martin Luther King on the Mall, marching for civil rights, or Nellie Gray. You and I both knew Nellie, and Marching for Life with Nellie Gray. This is historic, and this is you. The ball is in your court. Like, you have the opportunity. Most of us have the opportunity to be there. And for those of you who can't be there, you can be like those at Lepanto who couldn't actually go to the battle but prayed the rosary at home, right? So do you have any sort of program or what you're asking people to do who can't go?
We're just asking the homebound to join us in prayer. During the daily marches, we've asked people to just join us in prayer at noon because that's when the daily marches are. So symbolically, if you can't come and you're homebound, if you join us in prayer at noon, that would be amazing. Or if you can only go somewhere locally, just go to your state capital. There will be people at your state capital on Saturday as well. I promise you, as they have been every single day and weekend since the election. But if you are able to go to DC, another thing I'll let you in on a little secret, is that there's going to be perimeter blessings of all three of those buildings. We are going to take down the invisible evil forces that have taken over the seats of power. And so we're going to have people doing deliverance prayers and perimeter blessings of each of those buildings. And it's just a very, very spiritually powerful event. The rally is kind of like the fun part in the sense that everyone wants to go to the rally. But really, what we're there for is first and foremost is the Jericho marches. If we can never even have done a rally on the mall, it'll all be worth it if you have Jericho marchers marching around those buildings, praying that justice reign and that the truth reign there. So that's what we're there for. The rally on the mall is just the icing on the cake.
I can't wait. You know, I hope shows up as Mike Lindell.
Oh, he will. He's speaking.
Mike Lindell is speaking of My Pillow?
Yeah, he'll be there.
Okay, so you know that
he's one of our biggest supporters.
Okay, listen, Mike Lindell, My Pillow this is the first episode, by the way. My Pillow is the sponsor of the Jason Jones Show. And as of now, starting today, it's the first show.
Awesome.
They are our big sponsor. And if people go to mypillow.com and put in Jones, they get the discount. So you got to do that. And Arina, you have never seen my family so excited. My wife has never been proud of me for anything. I mean, we win the Toronto International Film Festival, the Hollywood Film Festival, the LA Film Festival. Pat Buchanan says my book's like his favorite book. You know, nothing. When the My Pillow stuff came to the house for us to experience, it was the first time my family was proud of me. I've never seen them so excited. And then I put on the robe. I didn't know. Like, My Pillow is amazing. The pillow's amazing. We have a Tempur-Pedic. We put the topper on top of the My Pillow mattress topper on top of our Tempur-Pedic. And I thought, we have a very expensive bed, okay? I was an infantryman. I have rough hobbies as well. My back is messed up, so we invested in the Tempur-Pedic. We put the mattress topper on. It is staying on. It is the most comfortable thing. I never slept like it. I love Mike Lindell. And you know why? Because the theme of this show is be vulnerable. And I always say that to be in solidarity with the vulnerable aren't weak people. They're strong people in tough places. Mike Lindell was a strong guy who was in a very tough place in life. But he never forgot that. He never forgot where he came from. He never forgot his community. That troublemaker from the neighborhood is now the biggest employer in the neighborhood. He was a strong man in a tough place. So I'm glad he's sponsoring us. I did not know he was going to be there. I can't wait to shake his hand and thank him for sponsoring the Jason Jones Show.
He is awesome. I just met him a couple weeks ago at the other march, actually, and he was just so wonderful. And I told him about the Jericho marches, and right away he said, tell me more, send me information. He gave me his email right on the spot and wanted to know about our Jericho marches. And now he is one of our sponsors.
So if you go, do you know what it is? My friends ask me, Jason, how do you know Eric Metaxas? How do you know Mike Lindell? How do you know
you show up.
Arina Grossu? How do you know? Well, they think I'm in some sort of like secret society. I show up to things. For 31 years, I just show up and I say, how can I be of use? And then you meet people who are like that. By the way, that's how Mike Lindell is. You didn't have to ask. He asked you, how can I be of use? Eric Metaxas is like the biggest deal. And he's like, how can I be of use? You know, we know a lot of people. We've been trying to get a lot of people to come. Most of them won't, right? But then most of them not even as big as Eric. But Eric's like, oh, let me see it. How can I be of use? You go to the Jericho March. You are going to be, none of these speakers are getting paid. They're paying their own ways, right? I'm glad you said yep, because I was going to be like, what? I'm not getting paid. so we're paying our own way. We're going there. These big people who make $50,000 speech, they're going because they know this is where their country needs them. You know,
because
Eric,
it's not, our rally is not for entertaining. It's a prayer rally. And in fact, one of the things that I have made very clear, and I will continue to make very clear for each speaker, is we don't want product promotion. We don't want self-promotion. We want you to go up there and tell us what God has done for you and tell us what God is going to do for our country right in this moment and how God is going to show up in faith at this time of and just really looking down on our people of faith and how they're how they're praying and how they believe in his power. And I do believe that God's going to do a big thing for us in our country.
You're making an exception for me, though.
What do you mean?
Remember what I asked you? I said, please, I want to do this. What am I? Can we say what I said I wanted? And you said yes.
I don't even remember.
The
Jason.
dopa. I said you have to let me wear.
That's right.
You have to let me wear. I will be placing the Uyghur in the hearts of those people. Right. I will be wearing the hat of the Uyghur when I pray. The dopa. Of course, I'm not selling dopa. There will be no, if you want your own dopa product. No, but I want to, this is for us. This is for our country. This is for our posterity. But we're the city on the hill. And I want to take my opportunity, because word spreads through that network. And I want the Uyghur in the camps to know Americans came together for freedom and for human dignity. And that the dopa was there on that guy's head. It never looked, the guy didn't look good in it, because the dopas are beautiful, but the guy had a big head. But I'm going to wear the dopa. And I cannot wait. And I knew Eric would say yes, because this guy knows something, because he's a historian. He writes these beautiful books. And Chesterton said, again, I'm going to quote Chesterton, that a generation that forgets its ancestors will not be thoughtful of its posterity. And Eric Metaxas, he writes on Squanto. He writes on William Wilberforce. He wrote on Martin Luther. He writes these great books. He is thoughtful to his ancestors. And so he is thoughtful to his posterity. And we know that we're going there not just for us and our children, but we know that the result of all of this is going to echo through generations.
Yeah.
And that we are not only the city on the hill, but that the world is watching. Because if our votes don't count in the freest country in the world, if our votes are not actually counted, and it doesn't matter how we vote, because they're going to do whatever they want, then we know that a lot of other countries are going to suffer as a result. If they can get away with it in America, they have gotten away with it in other countries, in Venezuela and other countries. But Hong
they're
Kong.
Watching how we're
how is this impacting the Hong Kong activists? Right.
Right.
It will rob them of their morale.
And the world is watching. We need to show them that we're pushing back, that we want the truth, that we're not just going to let them steal the election. And that we're going to stand up for our country, because it is not just for our generation, it's for future generations. It's for what America stands for. America was founded to be and praise God, and she is under God. And we are now bringing God back to the center. And this is what's actually happening right now. This awakening is Americans saying, we want God back at the center. And what you guys are doing here is not what God wants for our country. And it's just really, really beautiful. And I think that it is inspiring to other people around the world who haven't stood up to the forces of the communism and socialism. And
do you want to share a little bit about your past and your history and your family and why this means a lot to you?
Well, I grew up under communism. So for anyone who thinks that communism is wonderful and they want this here, it is horrible. And we know that. But a lot of people, the way that communism gets promoted is because ideologically sounds great. But really, in reality, it means what? It means that the dictators are wealthy and take advantage of the poor, and that the working people suffer, and that they become the slaves of their leadership. And that's what's going to happen here if we don't stand up. But I do think that God is going to work a miracle in our country, and this week you're going to see a miracle. And in fact, I'm not going to get all weird on you, but I'll tell you that there's been lot of evangelical prophecies about what's happening this week. And in fact, one of them, I'll send it to you, Jason. One of them said, that they had a vision of all of the month of November being blue, like all the dates, November 1st to the 30th, blue. And then from December 1st to the 11th is a light red that gets darker and darker and darker. And on the 12th is circled with just a big old circle there.
Is this the evangelical Christian from India? I've been hearing a lot about it. Everyone's been telling about it. Send it to me so I can see it. I'll put it in the show notes.
Oh my gosh.
I'll put it in the show notes.
He has been prophesying a Trump win for the last 4 weeks.
What's his name? Do you know his name?
Oh gosh, Milton. It's Milton. I started listening to all of the other ones, and they're uncanny. It's crazy. I could share things. It's crazy about how uncanny it is that some of the things that are mentioned are related to things about what the Jericho Marchers are doing. So it's just really crazy. And I don't know if we're just kind of living out this thing that was God ordained it to be, that we rise up and our faith is, God looks on our faith with mercy. Maybe that's what's going to happen, and I do believe that's
well. Look, you've had faith. You and many of my friends have had faith. I am like doubting Thomas. In fact, I have an article coming out tomorrow laying out the consequences of a Biden presidency and how we should respond. So
wait to publish it till next week.
No, I'm publishing it tomorrow. Hey, listen, this is what I
talk December 15th.
We will talk. No. Then it'll be meaningless. But no, I love your faith, and so many of my friends have this faith. In my mind, my apostolate is like we've already been laying out. What can we do to show the impact of shutdowns on the poor and around the world, and when it comes to hunger? What can we do to fight their push for war in Syria, which the folks he's putting to very important positions are already banging war drums.
Yep.
So when and the Uyghur have already been forgotten. Satellite images of crematoriums being built outside of all of the camps.
Gosh.
This is real, guys.
That's horrible.
It sounds crazy, but people have to remember the concentration camps in Germany didn't become death camps until 1943. There were death in those camps, but they weren't there to manufacture death, mass killing. There was the Wannsee Conference, right? And then you had them flip a switch, and overnight they became death camps. We don't want these concentration camps in China where there's death and there's organ harvesting and there's forced labor. But the nightmare of them going from concentration camps with death to death camps. So my team is on it, but I pray to God that you're right, that there's this miracle and that Trump's president. But
I will tell you, the Supreme Court is the key. Temporally speaking, the Supreme Court is the key, I believe. But spiritually, God's going to do a lot more than just that. I think we are going to have President Trump as a president for the next 4 years, but God is going to bring a renewal in the church way beyond that. And we'll talk. I may be completely wrong. And you know what? Even if I were wrong about the election, I will tell you, the fact that the church has been activated is going to reverberate through history just the way that it did at the Battle of Lepanto. So even that, but I'm saying,
God
is going to work a miracle.
Father Jerzy Popescu was murdered by the KGB and thrown into a river, right? But now we know that Father Jerzy inspired the Solidarity movement, which brought down the Soviet Union, which is why I'm talking to you, Arina. So even think about it. If not for the courage of men like Father Jerzy Popescu, I might not be talking to Arina Grossu right now, right? So even sometimes when what seems like defeat, we can plant the beautiful seeds that will shelter our posterity with love and peace and prosperity. And that's what this is. I believe that we're going to D.C., we're planting these seeds. I pray that you're right and that your hope, what you're hoping for and what you see is true. I don't know. I'm just confused. So what I have to do is the work of my apostolate, which is thoughtfully strategize on how we can best be useful to protect the vulnerable from violence, from hunger, from fear, from war, from genocide, and from democide. And here's my promise to people. I will say this clearly. Like I said, when we invaded Iraq, it would lead to genocide. Like I said, when Obama pulled us out of Iraq, now genocide's imminent. Like I said in April in my articles, we're going to create famine. We did. I can tell you a Biden presidency will lead to war, democide, genocide, and hunger. That's a fact. So we have to organize and order ourselves if that happens to stop it. But Arina, you are being faithful to God. And I know this has been a lot of work. You're texting me night and day. Like you're the last text I get when I go to sleep. You're the first text. Today, 6 a.m.
I've been doing
5:30 a.m.
It's crazy.
I shouldn't share my schedule to people. 5:30 a.m. I'm up. I'm driving to Muay Thai. It's a sport. Google it if you don't know what it is. And I went to Muay Thai at 6 in the morning. Then, I'm like, I want to go to Muay Thai tonight. So I'm going to Muay Thai at 6 p.m. I get a text from you. Now it's very late. It's very late. This is actually the next day. This is the morning of the, what day is it? It's like 1 a.m. It's 1 a.m. We're revealing some of the secret sauce. It's not live, but it's you'll be hearing this later in the day. It's 1 a.m. right now. And so you said, whenever, Jason, I'm up all the time. You've been working nonstop since the election on this.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I took a partial. Now I took whole leave because this has been consuming. So I had to take a complete leave from my work. And it's just been a real blessing to be part of this and to just focus on making the national event a success, and at the state level, people are showing up big time. In fact, I'll tell you another thing you're gonna love, Jason. I forgot to tell you this because you love Our Lady of Guadalupe so much. There are actually, Yvonne and others are working to get each of those state capitals, the swing states, and in DC, consecrated to Our Lady on her feast day. So
well, Yvonne's like you. You guys are balls of energy. I cannot wait till you guys meet each other. She's driving from Mississippi to Chicago right now. I should call her when we're off the phone. I should call her live on the air. She's probably in Missouri right now. She left my sister. For those, she's been on the show. Yvonne Florzak-Seaman is, to me, the most powerful voice in the pro-life movement. And she is one of my closest friends. She's my 13-year-old's godmother, 14-year-old's godmother. She's Maximilian Colby Jones's godmother. But you two are very similar in that you're just relentless. And, I always want to know what someone's inciting incident is, what their call to adventure is. When I meet someone like you, I know there was a great act of injustice that you experienced. Yvonne had 5 abortions before she was 21. Almost died on the 5th abortion. That culture of death, that experience was her, that great act of injustice is what inspired her to be who she is. Your family was crushed in Romania by communists, right? That was, yep. I believe that's your inciting incident. And when we experience a great injustice, it should birth in us empathy for others, that they never have to experience that again. And I don't think that you could have ever imagined, not even 12 months ago, that you would see such draconian, totalitarian, and corruption. The Democrat Party openly socialist. Soft social, they talk about soft socialism. Socialism is concrete hardening into communism. When you look at people like, oh, it's soft socialism or soft totalitarianism. Soft totalitarianism is concrete before it's settled. There's no such thing as soft totalitarianism. You resist totalitarians, you die. You're imprisoned. You're impoverished. You're doxxed. You're destroyed.
Well, I called my parents and I said, what happened with the election? And I said, can you guys believe this? And they said, this is no different. What we're seeing here is no different than what we saw there. And that's very scary, right? Because this is America. People come to America because they value the freedom. And so if the votes are taken away, if our voice is taken away, America is no longer ceases to be America as she was founded, and not because the people decided this way, not because we the people, is because people with an agenda are stealing, are trying to destroy America from within, and so that's the great injustice here. that that this is taking place. Not because it's a suppression of the will of the people. This is not what the people want. This is what a few people want who have lots of money and lots of power. They have power to turn off the TVs or turn off the press conferences that are going on, to censor our media posts, and we can't let that stand. And this is, and now with let's not even get into the COVID issues where we're literally muzzled, right? So it's a time where I think that there's a social experiment going on. People are dying because of COVID, but there's also a social experiment going on. And what will people accept in terms of how much of their freedoms taken away will they accept? And I think that this is a time when when we're seeing that our freedoms and votes are being taken away, that we need to stand up.
That's, you're inspiring me, Arina. Another way to say it is not how much of your freedoms are you willing to give away. How much of your children, grandchildren, and your posterity's freedom are you willing to trade for an easy life, to be left alone? How much you're not willing to risk anything. You're willing to trade away your grandchildren, your children, your grandchildren, your great grandchildren, your posterity's freedom, because that's what we know, right? It's hard to shake totalitarianism once it's there. But the good news is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, what's the bishop that said basically that his generation, I don't remember exactly the quote, but you probably know it, where he said that he will be killed in the streets. That basically.
Cardinal George.
Right?
Cardinal George said, are you talking about how Cardinal George said, "I will die in my bed. My successor will be shot in the streets." Will die in prison, and his successor will be shot in the streets. Yeah, but his successor's soupich, so I'm praying he does die in prison. Does that make me a bad Catholic?
Yeah.
It's my podcast. I can say what I want, Arina. But here's the good news. What you were saying, your parents give me hope because they said they've seen this before. See, when you've seen something before, it's not a new trick. So you can shake it. I just ordered, that beautiful author, Sigrid Undset. I never pronounced her name right. Mm-hmm. There's her journals and her a little autobiography about her fleeing Norway after the German invasion. She fled over the mountains to Sweden, then to Moscow, then to Japan on a steamer, and then to the States. And her son died fighting the Nazis when they invaded. Wow. So, this woman who was writing these great novels in the 1920s in Norway could have never imagined Norway falling to such totalitarianism. Countries is, Romania. We think of countries like Romania and Bulgaria, and we think of them as cold and sterile and totalitarian. They were bursting with culture and beauty and diversity and life. And that totalitarians smothered it, crushed it. And we cannot let that happen here.
Exactly. And that is what they're trying to do here, destroy America. And I will say America is favored by God. And honestly, the faith that I've seen come out in the last month out of America, when is the last time you've seen Catholics and evangelicals come together and praying in the streets? Tell me when in American history we've had people every single day coming out in the streets like
without
this.
Media coverage, without people telling the story. There's no coverage, but it's immense. It's amazing. It's everywhere. And
it's historic.
In my neighborhood, everyone's talking about it, and everywhere I go. So this is something that's very exciting, Arina. I want to let's give out the websites, and you need to go to sleep because you have to get up in 3 hours.
Yeah.
So where do you want people to go?
JerichoMarch.org. Everything's there. Go on the national tab page, and you could get all the details as we post them. But just go to JerichoMarch.org. There's an amazing 3-minute video. We want you to share, help to spread the word. If you can donate, we need pulling off this event nationally is a lot of money. So if you are of means and can help in any small or large ways, we really appreciate it. But just go to JerichoMarch.org. Everything will be there. We're going to be putting out press releases probably every single day until Saturday. And so just sign up on our website. And you'll be plugged in with the latest and greatest. And in fact, like I mentioned, tomorrow we're going to make a big announcement. So if you haven't made up your mind to come out yet, hopefully tomorrow you will.
I can't wait. Are you going to tell me offline or no?
I could tell you offline,
okay.
But you can't share it.
I won't share it, I promise. All right. So, hey, Arina, I love that a woman who grew up under totalitarian socialism is the co-founder of this Jericho March. And that is what is so beautiful about this country. And you are fighting, you were born under a tyranny. You refuse to live under tyranny again.
It's exactly, and I think that God did this for a reason in terms of, it could have been anyone. He could have given the vision to anyone. He gave it to an evangelical and a Catholic who never met. And both of us, and actually, speaking of Rob, the evangelical co-founder, he is from an Indian tribe that was also under tyranny. So it's just very, very interesting how God just kind of decided to choose us to do this, and we just had to answer the call. And basically, it's really God's grace at work and all the people showing up. I think that this was a way for people to feel empowered and that they can do something. And in fact, the most powerful thing they could do is pray. But the fact that we're there and together, physically in front of these seats of power, together in person, makes a big difference, because we're not just hidden in our homes, even though, prayer is powerful from wherever it is. But being there together is especially powerful, I think. And I think God is going to do something very beautiful with it.
Well, I'll be there. Arina, I get in on the 9th. Anything you need, I'll be there working and having some things to do on the 9th and 10th. But I'm there and on the 11th. Anything you need, me and my team will be there to help. So let us know.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jason, for having me on. And it's just been awesome to tell everyone about Jericho March and just to get everyone pumped up for what's to come. And don't lose the faith. God is doing some beautiful and big things right now. And we live during these times. He chose for you and I to live during these times. We always look at people and like, whoa, I wish I lived during whatever time. But he's doing something amazing right now for us.
Well, I think about that all the time now, and I've said it on the podcast. When we've all been, if you're a Christian, you've all been Christian or Catholic or evangelical. We've all been at those rallies where pastors get up there, speakers get up there and say, we were made for such a time as this. And we look back and we go, those are pretty awesome times. Like, those are pretty great times. We had 20,000 people in a stadium. We had great food. And we were high-fiving, and we were buying books and cassette box sets from the vendors out, and T-shirts and all kinds of knickknacks. No, we were made for this time. This is the time, right? Like you said, that we were made for. And before I was Catholic, Arina, I would go with my friend to adoration and pray. She would pray, and I would just sit there and read. And one day, I just said, I'm going to kneel and pray. And I felt like God, in her internal locution, said, when would you want to be with me? And I said, only when you're on the cross. Because other times you'll have people with you. I want to be with you when you're alone. And this is, I don't think I've ever shared this publicly before, but it was the most powerful locution I ever had. And then I felt the Lord say, I'm not alone at the cross. And I just saw like all these people around. It was like the one kind of mystical experience I've ever had. But this is that moment where our Lord is on the cross. And it's not the voter fraud or the lies. It's the consequences of it all. The fruit of it, which will be abortion for any reason up to 9 months and beyond. Euthanasia, assisted suicide.
All of it.
Regime change,
the culture
wars.
Of death.
Tyranny. Famine. Death. Yes, death. It's
loss of religious freedom. All of it, because these are the forces of darkness that are working through corrupt systems, and this is why we need all the prayers from everybody together because that is what's going to, God working through all of this, and His grace is what's going to save us from the darkness. And we know who wins in the end, right? We're the hallelujah people. We we know that we're going to win in the end, but God is moved by our prayers, and I will tell you, this is a time in our history as a country, and even in the history of our church as together, that we have come together so unified. When else? Tell me another time when Jewish people and Christians and evangelicals and Catholics have come together, Orthodox people, to pray together in our country like this. And it's just
without planning, without months and years of planning, without a budget. No, without huge sponsors. No, you guys it's all coming together.
It's a unification of our faith, our church, the church, universal. And, we're praying to the one God, and we're praying different ways, and we respect that. We don't want to combine. We're not going to combine our faiths. No, we each respect each other's
We're not
faith,
syncretism. Exactly.
Tradition. But we pray in our way to God, and the way that we know that He hears our prayers. And so, the Orthodox people are bringing their prayers, and the Catholics are bringing their prayers, the evangelicals are bringing their prayers, and the Jewish people are bringing their prayers. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So please come. If you can't come to DC, go to one of the swing states or your state capital. In fact, I'll tell you this: people want to be out there praying, even if they're not near their state capital. They're saying, I'm not near my state capital. Where can I go? They're going and praying around their courthouses, which is amazing. They're going out there and praying around their seats of power, the local seats of power there.
Praise God. And anyone can do that. And most people aren't. Like, Queen Elizabeth staring in the glass, the Pope yawning at the Mass, whatever, like Chesterton said. But we can pray, even if we can't go. Like, I almost wasn't able to go because I had the obligation of my daughter's play. We all have family responsibilities, commitments to our employers, commitments to different community associations, family, whatever. And I understand that, but we can all maybe fast. We can all pray. Mm-hmm. But if you can be there, you got to be there. And I want to meet you too. If you can be there, you got to be there. And you can meet Arina because Arina, you're exceptional. I need to let you go. You got to go to sleep. It's an hour later there than it is here.
A few more hours.
All right. Well, Arina, you get to work. I'm going to see you this week. And I just can't thank you enough for doing this because, you called me the day with the idea, and to see it just almost immediately flower into something beautiful. And then now on December 12th, in our nation's capital, I get to be a part of this. And I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
I wish I could take credit, but I can't. God has taken this, and it's like we're riding on God's coattails on this. Like I'll tell you, He has brought every talent to the table, every skill. It's just showing up. It's God doing it. We're just going along for the ride. So, this is.
You should do what I do. God does stuff around me all the time. He just I'm there, and it happens right next to me. Then I go, I did that. That was me. Arina, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason, and thanks to everyone for listening.
All right, Arina, you jump off. I'm going to wrap the show up, and we'll talk tomorrow.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason.
All right, aloha.
Bye.
I'll call you on my way to Muay Thai tomorrow. Okay, God bless.
All right, sounds good. Bye.
Bye. All right, guys, that is my dear friend, Arina Grossu, born under totalitarianism. And she has a really good job. She doesn't want to talk about it. It's a prominent position. And she's taking maybe a permanent leave of absence to do this. And she put it together. I really, really want you to go to this. And I love that it's Christians, Jews, evangelicals, Catholics, Orthodox, all coming together. In fact, the prime minister in exile of East Turkestan, who's Muslim, he's going to march next to me. And he'll be there with me. And I want you to be there with me because I'm not going, I've said this before, even when I was arrested protesting the lockdown, I said, this isn't about the First Amendment. This isn't about the right to assemble. These are all very important things. I'm here, this was in the spring, because you're about to starve the poorest of the poor in the world with your ham-fisted, stupid lockdowns. That's why I'm there. And that's why I'm going to be at the Jericho March for the child in the womb. Why do you think they worked so hard to steal this election? It was about abortion, war, and totalitarian lockdowns. That's what this is about. And I am there to march for the child in the womb, for the families in Chinese-occupied East Turkestan and concentration camps, for the Kurds and the Syrians and the minorities in Iraq and Syria, who will be we will be in war. We will have another regime change war by the fall. If Biden is president, we're going to work hard to stop it. And I know there'll be others in the House and the Senate that'll be working to stop it, but boy, we're going to have to work hard. And they're going to pull out all stops. So I'm going there, and I'm going to pray. And if you're Catholic, evangelical, Protestant, one of my most beautiful experiences of my life, I was with my buddy Brad Phillips, the founder of the Persecution Project Foundation, and with Stu Epperson Jr., who's the founder of Truth Talk Radio. It's a big evangelical radio network, and his parents founded Salem. His uncle and his mom and his dad founded Salem, which is the largest preach and teach format in the country, I believe, for evangelical Christians. And so it was me and Brad and Stu and Stu's cousin, or not cousin, his wife's husband, and Eduardo. So there's two Catholics, and my buddy Matt Chansey, is Anglican. So there's evangelicals and Anglican, two Catholics. And we would serve Muslims all day, drilling wells, providing medicine, driving around, meeting with people, trying to broker peace between Christians and Muslims and animists in Darfur. And you know what we did all night? We would get in these heated arguments on the intercessory prayer of the saints, on contraception, on Mary. We would be exhausted. Imagine you're in the desert. You're out there all day. And it's hard work. It's stressful. It wears you down. You're eating, you might have some digestion issues going on. And we would be wiped out when we get back. And the sun would set, and we'd be in our what we call the 10,000-star hotel, not 4-star, 5-star, not Michelin. No, 10,000 stars above us. And we would just get in these heated debates. And at one point, it got really heated. And I said, guys, do you know what this is right now? It's prayer. We're a group of men who have been serving the most vulnerable people in the world all day. We're exhausted. And we're talking about God. We're talking about God passionately for hours. We have to be up in 2 hours to do what we were doing the day before. And we're wiped. And what have we been doing all night long? We have been praying. God has been the center of our thoughts and our discussion. And so that is what is happening in Washington, D.C. You have these other events where you have the heated clash of worldviews and ideologies. But what Arina and her partner did is they put together these Jericho marches, and they have put God at the center of the discussion. And we're all coming together to pray for justice, for peace, for order, for prosperity. Why? For our children, for folks who are just trying to make ends meet, who want a peaceful, prosperous society so they can pay their bills and they can afford to send their kid to ballet or karate lessons. And they could have they don't have to take so many extra shifts, or don't have to work 2 jobs. That's why we're there. Because our ancestors, yesterday was Pearl Harbor Day. And all of my uncles and my grandfathers fought in that war. And my grandmother's brother was wounded at Pearl Harbor and was never recovered, lived for 30 years, died the year I was born in 1971 from the injuries he sustained in Pearl Harbor, right? They sacrificed so much for us. But not just in that. I'm talking about entrepreneurs, investors, working class folks, just people working, building this big, free, prosperous country for these totalitarian neoliberal thugs who want to raid and pillage, slothful, driven by avarice. Corporations like Nike and Apple using, having their products produced, outsourced to partners who use Uyghur slave labor like they don't know. Oh, those are our partners. They're not our direct resource partners. These are citizens of the United States of America that run these corporations. You don't think people that have no problem profiting off of Uyghurs have no problem making you a slave? Come on. So that's what we're there for. And I cannot wait to see the patriarchs and the bishops, evangelical pastors, Eric Metaxas, like literally my hero. Like if I were to put my list of men in the world today I look up to, top of that list would be Eric Metaxas. I'm going to bore you with another one of my long meandering stories. I brought a young Yazidi woman that I met in Iraq that had been a slave to ISIS. Actually, ISIS cut her open, experimented on her, sewed her back up, rolled her in a carpet, put her in a truck, drove her out into the middle of nowhere, kicked her, threw her and other women rolled up in carpets into the sand. The Peshmerga, the Kurdish warriors, looking through their binoculars, saw these carpets thrown out of the back of a truck. One of them was my friend, became my friend when I was in Iraq. Now she's in a home in the United States to help young women recover with PTSD and trauma, all this trauma. Brought her to the United States with an interpreter to share her story. We met with Vice President Pence. We met with a lot of influencers. By the way, I don't know if the Peshmerga warriors saw them thrown out. When they went and cut her open, they saved her life. I want to say that the Peshmerga were heroic, saved her life. We don't even know what the ISIS did to her. But now, 8 months later, she's in the United States, and we took her to meet with Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, others, Vice President Pence. We go to do the Eric Metaxas show. He's going to give us 15 minutes. Now, the whole idea is, even with this podcast, I want to talk to you guys all the time about genocide, democide, and war. Tomorrow we'll be talking about Nigeria. But that's not a good way to build an audience. So, you got to talk about other things. Eric had my friend on. He was going to do 10 minutes. He did the entire show. It was like reading the Diary of Anne Frank on the air. It was so sorrowful. I said at one of the breaks, he gave us the whole show. I said, Eric, you're not going to have but 5 listeners by the time this is over. Thank you so much. You don't have to give us the whole show. And Eric says, I cannot not give her the whole show. The world needs to hear this story. And that's the kind of man he is. And so he'll be there emceeing the whole event. That's the kind of beautiful man that is. That's the kind of, he had the courage to stand up to the President of the United States at the National Prayer Breakfast and challenge him on abortion. So you're going to be with those types of folks. Bishop Strickland. Follow him on Twitter. Catholic or not, you got to follow Bishop Strickland. So I cannot wait to be there. I'm wrapping this up. Go in the show notes for the JerichoMarch.com. This episode has been brought to you by, as always, Movie to Movement, promoting a culture of life, love, and beauty through the power of film. Go to movietomovement.com. Check out our new movie with New England Patriot, former tight end, Benjamin Watson, Super Bowl champion Benjamin Watson. This movie has the secret that will unite America. You go there, click through salemnow.com. We're streaming. And the Vulnerable People Project at thegreatcampaign.org. Go to the Vulnerable People Project. Become a monthly donor. They sustain all the work we do to advance the interests of the most vulnerable, from the child in the womb, those families in Chinese-occupied East Turkestan. And our new sponsor, MyPillow.com. MyPillow is the brand of the show. First of all, it's excellence. The product is amazing. It makes you smile. When the MyPillow box comes to your family's house, you get the mattress topper, which is the thing. It's the top of it all. You got to get the mattress topper. We just put it on top of our Tempur-Pedic bed. The pillow, I was like, I use a pillow. I don't put my head on a pillow. I shouldn't probably say that. I put the pillow on my head. I don't put my head on the pillow. I lay on the bed and I put the pillow on my head. And so I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I loved it. I put it on my head. My wife said it's the best night sleep she ever had. She goes, you have to start sleeping with the pillow. So I put it under my head, and I realized I like this pillow because you can shape it. Other pillows, they push my head up too much. And I don't like that. So it was like I had to choose no pillow or pillow. This, the first night I put it on my head, like I always do. I slept with the pillow on my face, like a little head blanket. Now I did a little thing, like an indentation. I put my head in, and it was great. Love the pillow. My wife loved the pillow. The mattress topper is more comfortable than the Tempur-Pedic bed. It is, you just sleep. The robes, everything, the towels, the giza. I'm going to talk about each of it. But right now, I just want to tell you, my wife said, what are we going to do with the mattress topper? We have the best bed in the world. I said, let's try it. And then we'll roll it up. We'll put it upstairs for the guests in the rollout bed. We put it on top of our Tempur-Pedic bed, and it was awesome. So my wife made me pull out the box spring so we lower the bed. So we have the Tempur-Pedic mattress with the mattress topper, which I love. So go to mypillow.com, use the code Jones, like the Jason Jones Show, and you get your discount. And I'm hoping to get Mike Lindell on the show, because to me, he is our brand. He is what this show is about, standing in solidarity with the vulnerable. Not that we're do-gooders. We think we're better than the vulnerable. Most of us have been the vulnerable. I always say I am an ambassador for the vulnerable. I was homeless. I was a teen parent, born to a teen parent, dyslexic, high school dropout, last in his class. I feel like I am the ambassador for the vulnerable. And Mike Lindell has been that. He, his story is incredible. He literally got a loan from his bookie. He was a drug addict. Started this company, and then he became the pillar of his community. He doesn't get his stuff made overseas. He gets his stuff made right here. And not just anywhere right here, like where he's from. That's the whole life principle, subsidiarity. Start where you are. Care for your community. I don't trust a do-gooder who goes around the world saying he's doing good if he's not doing good at home. He does good at home, then he does good around the world. Stands for life, courageously, and is going to be at the Jericho March. That's providential. Anyways, go to mypillow.com. Get the mattress topper. Get all your Christmas gifts at mypillow.com. And I made a video on Facebook when the boxes came in. I've never seen my family smile so big. You know why people love my pillow before they even get the pillow? They love Mike Lindell. You know why they love Mike Lindell? Because that's a guy that knows you're made in the image of God. He looks at you. You see it through the camera. That is a man that knows that he is in a world filled with beautiful creatures with incomparable dignity, beauty, and worth. That's my kind of guy who makes the coolest pillows on earth and the coolest mattress topper. MyPillow.com. This has been a very long and rambling episode of the Jason Jones Show. I am fired up. I will be in Washington, D.C. December 10th. In the show notes, I will have a link to the event on the 10th. I will be with the Uyghur and Hong Kong democracy activists and others standing up to the brutal CCP, the Communist Party of China, on December 10th. Then on December 12th, I'll be in D.C. for the Jericho March. I hope that if you can't go to the Jericho March, you make it to the Uyghur event. If you can make it to the Uyghur event and the Jericho March, great. But I hope to see you. I've had the opportunity lately to meet several folks that I didn't know that were fans of the show. I'd love to get to meet you. Last month, we were the number 16 podcast in our category in the United States. So thank you very much for sharing the show. All right, until tomorrow. Jason Jones Show.
This has been the Jason Jones Show, powered by Mudhouse Media.